I attracted my audience in many ways to specifically interest each member of my demographic. One way I did this was the way I set out my mise en scène. I picked out everything accordingly to the meaning I was trying to get across to the end user. For example, I attracted a lot of people with the way I presented my lighting due to the fact that in my contents page and my double page spread of Trisha representing Maz Records, I specifically used lighting to emphasize my artists. This is because young adults and the older demographic, they find it more attracting, and they might appreciate more the fact that it looks very professional and it has a realism touch to it. Also, the fact of having continuous representation of music, that also gives them more of the genre feel to the magazine. The props, staging, headphones, and all that, they all emphasize the fact that it was music genre in my magazine. One of the pictures I also took was in my studio. I've got my own music studio, and I took one of my pictures and one or two pictures in there. This is due to the fact that I believe giving a normal music studio gives it more of the realism and more of a real life feel to it that is actually in a music studio. So I believe this is a really good mise en scène for a couple of the pictures I took. Another way I attracted my audience was the content I used. I tried to add various different genres from pop, rap to rock, R&B, metal music, everything. I tried to add different content that can attract everyone. This is because I want my audience to be wide and various different people with different interests. I also did this to attract various different ages. For example, my main primary audience is 16 to 21 plus-ish, and then my secondary audience is 25 to 35. I believe the 16 to 21 will plus 16 to 24 will attract people the artists like Drake would attract those kind of people, as is their kind of era where the music is used. And I believe the older demographic, 25 to 35, my other style of music like U2 and Metallic, as I called it, those kind of music will attract that kind of demographic, as it's their kind of music they used to listen to when they were younger. Gender wasn't also a problem when it came to my magazine. I believe my magazine attracted male and female. I don't believe there was no sort of bad representation that would affect male or female watching it, as magazines like XXL, their representation of women is quite bad in the sense that sometimes the women are seen more sexually, and the kind of poses they've had would be not too it won't stereotypically, it would put women in a bad name. That's why maybe women won't read XXL as much. But in my magazine, I've got nothing like that, as I use Trisha, a lot of photos of Trisha and another girl in my magazine, which they are not presented in sexually in any way. So I don't believe any girls can get offended by reading my magazine. Another content that I believe that can attract the older demographic is reviews, because I believe the older demographic will appreciate reviews and want to know about what other people think about particular songs, albums, etc. And the young people will be more interested in the top 10 songs out there, and they're both in my regulars. So I believe this is using these features attract my audience very clearly. The language I was using was a mixture of formal language and informal languages, as I used terms like hell yeah and killing the scene. These words would attract more of the youth because it's the kind of words they use every day. So using these words makes it more conversational, makes it more real for the people. So reading it won't be like reading a book or reading a everyday magazine. It'd be like having a conversation with someone one-to-one. However, the content and language I used in my double page spread was also very formal and serious at some cases, which the older demographic will appreciate, as they would be more interested in those kind of stuff, as they don't want to be reading a magazine which is just full of jokes, etc. The way I presented my format layout was very specific to my audience. The colour scheme I went with was black, red, some white and some grey. I believe these colours never gave any specific representation to anything. I just used it because it keeps what I'm using, keeps it a lot more broad, and it just main reason why I use those colours to make it more visually attractive, rather than just having different colours that maybe wouldn't work together as a whole. I also used it to show professionalism and classiness, because those sort of colours are more professional, whereas if I use colours like pink or like too bright colours, people might think that, oh, this might be a bit of a quick kids magazine, something like that. So I believe these kind of colours really attract my audience that I am aiming it to. Everything was also set out really clearly, so if anyone wanted to like navigate to different places, it'd be really easy for them. The typography I used was mostly sans serif, and some may say sans serif is mostly for the youth and it won't really attract the elder demographic, but I believe that's not the case in my magazine, as it looks professional and it still looks really good and it suits the magazine. The institution I used was mainly to target my young and like late teens demographic, due to the fact that they use a lot of social media and online stuff for like their source of information more than the elder demographic, because they might not know how to use it or different reasons like that. As social media and online is a very, very big key in today's society, I created an app and a website where people can read my magazine online. So these sorts of things will attract the audience a lot, due to the fact that there's different kind of methods and like 24/7 access to read my magazine. Also added a subscription section where it tells you to subscribe, and I also included an offer. So those offer will interest different kind of people as well, because it's obviously it's an offer for Ticketmaster, and a lot of people from different ages want to go to see different people at different venues. So that offer would attract many. This will attract both audiences, the young and old, because they'd want to subscribe to the magazine, so they'll keep updated with the magazine, and also they'll get an offer, so they'll be more happy with the magazine. This would increase the users of people using the app and the people subscribe, so this can also gain popularity for my magazine itself. So these sorts of features can attract my audience very specifically and also very effectively. Obviously, online being 24/7 access, you can use it whenever you want, wherever you are, as long as you've got internet. So altogether, I believe I attracted my audience very clearly and effectively and specifically, which can make my magazine very, very successful.